before is Kampishandru, and I'm going to be the moderator. But before I go in any further details, I didn't come alone. I came with the various panelists that are going to discuss on topical issues that have been vital in the nation building. And on my right, I want to begin with Mark. Mark, can you introduce yourself to the people that are watching?
Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Mark, the Law Society Publicity Secretary, Law Faculty, Bishop Stuart University, and I'm happy to be hosted as a panelist to discuss these issues. Thank you everyone, hopefully stay tuned.
I'm Nicholas Akandwanao. I'm the founder and executive director or CEO at Project 56 Uganda, and the panelist here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Greetings all viewers of Climax Online TV. My name is Abel Deron, currently serving as the Speaker of the Law Society, Bishop Stuart University, and again aspiring as the next good president of the same university. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, panelists who have already introduced themselves. My name is Doris Atumanya, and I happen to be a student at Bishop Stuart University, and I am glad to be here with my fellow friends who are sitting here as a panelist, and I'm ready to discuss matters arising. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. I'm Natkunda Jojo, Vice President of Law Society, and I'm happy to be live on Climax.
Are you second?
Thank you everyone. Thank you Climax TV. My name is Joshua Kamsime, the President Rule of Law Club, Bishop Stuart University. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Andrew.
The dear viewers, of the recent we have had alarming reports of teenage pregnancies during the lockdown, and reports coming from Kavale about 387 people that are pregnant. Students are resuming school, but still, the public is disguising them as if they are mothers or as if they are prostitutes. What is your take? I'll begin from Joshua. What is your take about the teenage pregnancies that have happened during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. To begin with, do we need, in terms of health, do we need life or this thing of, basing on this thing of COVID? We have been home, yes, especially ladies, the girl child, this gender is being affected. But what do we need? Do we need them to be safe against COVID, or we fear the pregnancy? I think to me, pregnancy can be okay. Instead of them dying in schools, we let them go home. Now the issue is, when they are home, how is it? How can they control themselves against those pregnancies? But I think let them be home. The issue is not about them getting pregnant. The issue is about keeping them safe away from COVID. So
you want to say that who's responsible to keep them safe?
The
who's
parents.
To blame in that case?
The parents. Because if the government decided that 15 million should go back to their homes, so it is now the mandate. Finally, a student comes from home. So the student when the student is told to go back home, that means the student is now in the hands of the parent. That means the parent is now to care about the student.
Do you buy the point of Josh that the parents should be blamed in this case of the teenage pregnancies?
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. I'm not going to purport myself from the reasoning of everyone. When it comes to pregnancy, everyone has a right to life. Me, I can blame the government. It's a matter of allowing girls who are pregnant to go to school, attend. It's a matter of taking care of them.
But don't you think before they become pregnant, we should first tackle the root cause of them being pregnant? Why should we tackle the fruits of the problem?
The problem, we are not considering the circumstances around. What do I mean? You have to believe that the moment your mind is not fixed with anything, I'm trying to mean that as long as your mind is idle, it's reality that you are going to be expressed anything. So to me, I don't think that there is anything that we are supposed to be blaming girls for getting pregnant.
So do you believe that circumstances, Doris, that the government or the parents should be blamed in this case, that the circumstances have pushed the girls or there is another problem other than the government and other circumstances? What's your take about what Josh and Jojo have said per their previous speeches?
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. But irrespective of what they said, I think we should not look at what is there right now, but we should look at the causes, because one, COVID is here to stay, and girls are going to get pregnant every time and then. So if you want to say that the government should look into the issue, like some panelists said, should look into the issue that those people that have got married, they should go to school, it means we are not helping the situation, because those people that are getting married are young kids, like someone with 8 years, someone with 12 years. Those people are really young. I think we should look at the issue that what is the problem here? What has caused that? One, very many people are to blame. By the way, everyone is to blame here. A parent, a child, men who are impregnating these kids, because you cannot sleep with a 12-year kid and you want to say the government should help you take these kids to school. There are other things they're going to face, the other problems they're going to face at the end of the day. So to me, I think the parent, the kid, and not be even the government, because one, this is a situation, the government helped us, like a panelist said, let these kids be at home so as they can be safe. So this means that the parent and these men around us, because they are impregnating ladies, so the men and the parents, they are here to blame, because they should choose at least to save their kids and ensure that they are safe and secure.
Okay, now Doris brings a big importance of policy, and quoting Delon had said that he's a speaker of the Law Society, which brings the issue of law and also policy making. So do we believe that the government and the parliament and also the judiciary have roles to play? For example, that if such illegal activities, for example marriages, that these are things that are illegal, and don't we think that there should be policy making and also recommendation of laws to protect the girl child in Uganda?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. One, driving myself to that same issue, I'd like to first bring in the point of responsibility. Now, having the three parties under this issue. One, there's the government. Secondly, we have the parents. Third, we have the youth. Now, the youth here come in, the boys and then the girls. Who is responsible for each other? One, the government is responsible for our lives. The government closed schools and sent us back home, freeing us from the rapid spread of COVID-19. Now, the parents, are they responsible for their daughter and son's health? Leaving them and neglecting them, perhaps not giving them parental role and guidance, this drives them to the trend of teenage pregnancies. And now, the youth, the boys and the girls, are you responsible for your personal health and protection? Now, all that luxury and permissiveness drives us to the tendency of pregnancies, right? Now, when it comes into the courts and maybe the guidance under the law, how can the government help us into this? This comes under the circumstance of the COVID-19. Which law can be set for the teenage pregnancies? One, I believe that there is no rape, there is no defilement under this. I believe there must be the consent of the two parties to get into the sexual intercourse. But then, what can the government help in this? Can we allow back these daughters of ours to schools under the same circumstances, however much they are pregnant? I believe the court can lay in for this so that we shouldn't leave out anyone who has involved herself into this trend out of school.
Delon says that the government should allow girls who are pregnant to come in school. And I would like to engage CEO on this matter. You're engaging kids who are publicly demeaned or who are shied away, and they see them as weak people, or they see them as people who gave out themselves. And how are they going to manage this disgrace, or how people will discriminate them among the society? Because if someone appeared, a kid, for example, say in P7, appeared pregnant to attend a lecture or to attend some lesson, would she feel comfortable to attend that lesson, even though the government supports that policy? What's your take about that?
Thank you, Kamucha Andrew, the host. Thank you, Darren. Maybe, I think, one, they should allow them to enter school, but I hold a different view to that. One is, we are living in a global village. The world is a global village. A travel from Kampala to Dubai is 3 hours. A travel from Uganda to South Africa is 6 hours. How have other countries addressed the issue? In Chad, Congo, Central African Republic, and the West African countries of Namibia and Mauritania, where there have been issues of war and conflict. We think pregnancies are the issue of the day. In those countries with pandemics of war and COVID-19 hitting in, the whole world has been hit by COVID-19, but why treat Uganda as an exception to the world? You see, Chanel, when we speak about Uganda, but the neighborhood Rwanda, is it complaining of pregnancies? No. In countries like China or Japan, where the emperor is speaking of 1,000 years from now, so it means the emperor is seeing 4 generations survive. Then in Uganda here, why doesn't the government take the forefront role to protect the generation of the coming 1,000 years?
Let me engage in that. So what do you think, how can the government engage in, before I engage in Mark, how can the government forefront, or which policies do you think that the other countries that you have mentioned in your policy, what did they do that Uganda is not doing at the moment?
Recently, in my village where I come from, for us to come from villages, and I'm proud about it sometimes, but I share the town urban thing, but why would we employ a one Nicholas who does not hold documents? You see, it's about this shanky thing. You have seen the Nakarima scenario. Is arresting someone who doesn't hold qualifications and reporting at the CID offices. Why do you put a CID who will have to get bribes? You see, the challenge is not reporting. People are reporting. When you go to the police today, you'll find 1,000 cases flowing in every day. But who is following up the investigations? Those countries make clear investigations in Korea, in Egypt, everywhere. So, and me, I take it upon the government. Save the next generation for 1,000 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, as I'm going to engage in Mark, Nicholas says that the issue is that the government is employing people who are not qualified, and this beats my understanding. One is that for someone to be qualified, do I need to differentiate the fact that, please, do I have to devise means of how a teenager cannot become pregnant? Does it need education? I think this is mere knowledge. Even way back 8 years, people used to have common knowledge on how to prevent people from pregnancy. They used totems, they used to have tell stories to stop kids from having these teenage pregnancies. But we're in a modern society, and we believe that the government has a pivotal role to play. But you had, Mark, you heard what Nicholas said. And what is your take about his speech and other panelists, what they were saying?
Thank you, Mr. Kamugisha. To talk about teenage pregnancy, I'll first give a few statistics in Busoga, where the latest 12th of September report showed that around 90,000 girls below the age of 18 were pregnanted in this pandemic, this period of the lockdown. And one LC1 chairperson, when he was being interviewed, he said that of all these girls that were impregnated, they were impregnated mostly by these old men working in sugarcane plantations. Statistics have it that 80% were impregnated by big men, by old men. Then 20% of the 100 were fellow students. What does this have to say? Fellow students, at least 20% is not a scary number. They have tried to, control themselves. But it beats my understanding. A parent impregnating this girl below the age of 18.
So Mark, don't you think, because you've talked about the percentage of 80% done by old men, so don't you think that the government has to implement a policy or a law to stop or to curb these vices? For example, to say that if you pregnant a lady, you're supposed to be arrested, or something to say you're supposed to pay for education, even for maternity leave. Don't you think it's way if we implement policies that prevent other than trying to hold the fruits that have already been bared for the future?
Yes, thank you. And I would love to borrow my fellow panelists' point of now going back to the people employed, most especially in these crucial departments like the security and the judiciary, because the laws are already laid. But implementation is becoming a problem. When a person is taken to court, let's say, a bribe is given, and tomorrow you see this man in the community, and it's becoming a job. Today he's impregnating this one, the next day the other one, and it's losing meaning. I mean, if someone is taken to police, they are given these police bonds. Someone has impregnated your daughter, he has a daughter, and is being given a police bond before even anything is, he take no action. It takes me back to the question of the employees that are in the system now.
So now, we are talking about teenage pregnancies, and this brings a point of university, that one of the tertiary institutions that the president in his recent speech on that tertiary institutions are supposed to open by 1st November, and he said no students are supposed to access, and even it was confirmed by Chris Bariomons, the Minister of Information, saying that you cannot access the schools unless you've carried out mandatory vaccination. I'd like to take your point from Mark. What do you think about mandatory vaccination of university students, and even with the current circumstances?
Thank you once again. We are saving lives, and I'm wondering, by the way, for our own information, to take the vaccine, you have to sign against a consent. There is a document given that you have to sign on to. And I'm wondering, if it is my life to save and it is in a good way, I mean, why should we contract? Why should I sign a consent for my life? If the government is in for me saving my life, why do we have to first contract about it? If it is well anyway and very healthy, it should be taken like any other. We've seen immunizations before. People are being vaccinated against polio, tetanus, and name those diseases. We used to call them 8 killer diseases when we were learning primary. And I've never actually seen a consent anywhere to say that we first signed. Only I saw a book where my parents used to jot down the times I was immunized. And I'm wondering, if this vaccine is actually health and very okay for us, why should I first consent? It brings my mind to think that there is something behind the vaccine, and it is not actually, shouldn't be made mandatory for everyone.
I would like to interject from Mark's point. He says that there's a propaganda behind the vaccine, and we have had propagandas that you may lose your mind or you may die. And Nicholas, I would like to borrow your mind. What's your take about the mandatory vaccine, despite even the rumors and also the propaganda on this vaccine? Are the students ready? And this propaganda, is it true or false?
Well, isolated cases in the world happen. Even when HIV was here, people received the jobs, some died. So it's an isolated case in a million. Like when they say you go to school, at the end of the day you die without a degree. It's an isolated case. You can do what? You can die. But for the world to move on in the global village syndrome, we have to vaccinate. So I can give my take furthermore on that. One is, citizens are hopeful of a government that cannot work for them briefly so well. Because Ugandans hold the view that the government has a lot of money. That's the challenge we have. People hold the view, because when you calculate the GDP, that's the gross domestic product, the resources in the economy, the production within the financial year of the country, Uganda stands at $40 billion US. A country standing at $40 billion US, and up to now, it's receiving donations. We have not yet procured the vaccine. It's now around how many days? I think 20 something to November, opening of universities. And procuring a vaccine, you follow some procedure at Pfizer in the US. So you're procuring a vaccine, it is a poor country, but there is Qatar, which is at a value of $100 billion US.
Okay, I would like to engage in Mark about I would like to engage in Delon about the issue of the economy versus vaccination.
Yes.
You are not complaining that Uganda does not have the vaccines. Even you are hearing reports of vaccines expiring in the store. But the issue is the money that the country has at its disposal that hasn't been used to buy the vaccine. Why don't we use it to educate or sensitize people about the effectiveness of the vaccine and even the fruitfulness if these people are vaccinated? Don't you think we should first educate people why they should vaccinate other than forcing them? For example, university students are ignorant. They spend on videos discouraging them to vaccinate. What's your take, Delon?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. One, I would love to now speak as an administrator or as a leader. Here comes the president, now the administrator of our country, that's Uganda, giving a directive that all students must undergo vaccination in order to go back now to normal, to open up the universities, right? Now here comes in a disadvantage and a challenge you have been facing as leaders. One, heading an institution or a nation like this, there must be diversions. There will be opposition. Now here comes some students not willing to take up the jabs. But then, when shall we normalize again, minus the jabs, minus the vaccination? Comparing it now to the economy of Uganda, Uganda is not all that poor. I think we are among the third grade developing countries, third class.
That makes it the poorest.
It's not that, because, why do I say this? It is growing, it is developing, LDC, okay? It is a developing country. So, from small, we shall go to bigger. Here comes out students whom we believe are knowledgeable, understanding, and must comply to the current situation of COVID-19. University students are not premature to understand the situation. But then there is this controversy of saying we shall not. Why? Because they feel they should oppose anything the government is stating. But then as a head of a nation, we must undergo this directive so that at least one day or tomorrow we can drive back to normal.
From Delon's point, he says that we should vaccinate despite the propagandas. He thinks that students have learned. But even the people that have learned, we have had professors going against this vaccine, saying it's not safe for the students. Do we think it's about the literacy or the ignorance of the vaccine, or it's all about that the government has not played its role to sensitize people about the necessity of this vaccine? What's your take about that, Doris?
Okay, thank you so much, the moderator. I think the problem here is that the government has not done the best it should do concerning the vaccine. Yes, the president made an order that we should get vaccinated before 1st of November for the higher institutions of learning to be open. But the question is, have they done their best? One, if they cannot come out and sensitize and tell, because we see propaganda, if it is propaganda, then they should come out and tell the country that no, this is what we are supposed to do. This is what we think is the right thing because we've tested this and this and this and it is working. And another thing is that if they say these people should get vaccinated, how are they going to get vaccinated? Like some panelists said, when you're going to get vaccinated, you need to sign some document or something. I'm not sure about that, but my question is, if it is that way, then how are students going to do that? Because if you're signing for your life, then it means there's a problem. That means that the government has not done the best they should do to make sure that at least people are informed about which vaccine they should take, at what time, and with which age should deal with a certain vaccine, because we have very many of it in the country.
Dorothy discusses the issue of signing consent forms, and yet the government says it's mandatory. One, I detect controversy. You're saying it's mandatory, but you have to sign a consent form. Isn't it forceful in nature? So the first question is, isn't it mandatory, and also isn't it controversial to what the government says? Second question to also Jojo, another question is that they are saying that people need to be accountable. If you sign a consent form, if anything bad happens to you, then the government is responsible. But we have seen cases of reports where people have been vaccinated, expired drugs, not even expired drugs, and also even some fake drugs like water. Like the NBS report, what is your take about that? Are university students ready to face the repercussions if the drugs happen to be substandard?
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. I will bring this to your mind. I don't know how people understand the meaning of contractual issues. You see, before a contract takes place, there must be consensus item. What do I mean? I mean the free meeting of minds. The moment you realize that I have to sign a document to save my life, it means it is not a contract. It's null and void. Because the moment you want me to sign a document for me to get vaccinated, and you make it mandatory, it means there's no consideration. What do I mean? It means you, as the government, you are forcing me to take into a contract which I'm not willing to do. Actually, to me, I still blame the government for not using the exact way of sensitizing students on the way to be vaccinated and the importance. Because when you want to tell me that I should get vaccinated after signing a document, then I don't get you. Because when I sign a document, it means that the moment that vaccine causes a problem to me, I'm not to blame you. It means it is my fault. But you are the one who brought the vaccination to be included within my contract. Actually, I do not see the consideration, I do not see the connection between education and the vaccination.
Okay, let me engage you, Nicholas. You've heard what the panelists have said and what their views about the vaccine is. One, for us to open schools, you must be vaccinated, which is a good initiative because we have a complaint about schools. But there comes a problem. What if these vaccines are substandard? And this brings the issue of worry. What if a person gets sick? One is that the government says you sign a consent form, but we are told it's mandatory for you to vaccinate. So what if things or bad things happen? So I want you to give us your way forward about all what they have said and what is the way forward as we go for universities by 1st November.
Thank you, Andrew. My take is this. It's like when you're entering into a theater and you sign a consent form. That means if something happens to you, you will not blame anyone. If vaccination is to shield me against the disease, why do I need to sign? As in, am I worried about the vaccine? What are the contents of the vaccine? Why do I have to, sign here and there? And if it is protecting my life, then why is it by force? Why is it that they are saying it's a mandatory? Is it that because we have seen cases of someone after vaccinating maybe fell ill? So what if someone dies and you had signed the consent form? That means your people will not say anything about the vaccine. So you have consented about the vaccine. Yes, you have taken it. Then something happens. So actually, I think the vaccination should not be a must. This should be someone's choice. So now that takes me back to the role of the government in this. They should give us reasons why we should vaccinate. They should give us sensitization on more of this vaccination. So that it will be easier for me to go willingly and vaccinate without them forcing me. I presume maybe in the next few years, they'll be like, before you enter this room, show us your vaccination card.
I know the panelists have discussed vital issues and I think we have to have a break.
Yes.
But as we go for the break, we are going to, when we come back, we are going to discuss issues that were discussed by the president, issues of national importance. And one of the things that were quite paramount was grant of bail. Who should be given bail? And isn't it a constitutional right? And the controversy, if bail is going to be a right dictated by the executive, won't it be political? So, if it's in good faith, it would be okay. But the minds of people, you've arrested people before, even when the right of bail is there. What if that right is removed? Aren't you going to kill people? So, dear viewers, let's go for a short break. We shall be coming back. Otherwise, catch you later in the next segment. Now, before we are going for the second break, we had various discussions in the background with our panelists, and we are having engaging issues about from teenage pregnancies to mandatory vaccination of university students. So, when we resumed the second session, we are joined by one of our great law scholars. He's called Baraba. Let's give him time to introduce himself, then we can break the topic that we're about to go to.
Thank you, moderator. My name's Atuhire Baraba. I'm a fourth year law student and I'm commonly known as His Worship Senior. Thank you so much.
So, I'd just like to echo the previous national importance speech made by the president. You remember very well that the president told us that bail was being misused, and he began his speech way back from even the bench one memorial speech, and back to his even the national importance. He again talked about bail. But before we go to bail, we have had cases of scenario opposition leaders, for example, Bobby Wine, even the current scenario of Segrinya, and also these people have been arrested, and they have been on being given a bail, they have again been arrested. So we want to intrigue these panelists, ask them, is bail being misused, and if there is a political motive behind that, aren't people going to be arrested? We must keep caution that bail can be denied by everyone, you know, because you may commit a crime. So if they implement such a law to deny capital offenders bail, aren't we in a big problem as a country? Let me begin from Baraba. What's your take about bail?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Modulator. Me, let's first know what is bail. It is derived, or the Supreme Law gives a right of bail, and it is not mandatory. It can be taken away. Who gives bail? Bail is given by court after proving several ingredients. The assurities, or if they tell you to bring cash, that's when they give you bail. One, bail is only given by court, not the president. We have to know that. The president is not the one who gives bail. Though he's a fountain of honor, he's a fountain of heart, but he's not the person who is supposed to give bail. It is given by the magistrates. No, not the magistrates, the judges. They are the people who give bail, because bail is applied in court, in high court. Now, the president said bail is being misused. How is it being misused? I think bail is not being misused, because the one who gives bail, if you apply for bail, they ask for assurities and they give it to you. Now it is upon the people who give bail, the judges or court, if they ascertain that you're not fit to be given bail, that's when they should not give you bail, because it is not a must.
I would like also to present the concerns. The president had concerns, and I would like to pose this question to Nicholas. The president had concerns that when you always give such bails to people, some people have gone there to mismanage it by committing crimes again, and they have again also, for example, you find people have committed what we call mob justice, because you take a thief to the police station, before even you leave, he has been granted bail. Now, and the issue was that he's not against the courts, but he's against the police that gives bonds to people, you know, but for him, characterize it to be bail, because you find that police has arrested someone, they have again released them, for example, in they are capital offenders, even if they have not been proven, but it angers the community. So I'd like to pose this question to Joshua. Don't you feel bail, when it's granted to capital offenders, for example, does it encourage mob justice, and it makes people lose trust in the justice system of Uganda?
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. This conversation about bail has not started today, because during 1995, the Odochi Commission, when they were formulating this constitution, the government also had a query on bail. So let us first agree that bail has a problem, but then now we see how. He talked about capital offenses. You have killed someone today, and then tomorrow you're bailed out. Is that justice?
It is. The right to fair hearing.
Yes, you're saying the right to fair hearing, but you have taken a life and now you're out of the prison. So I think for capital offenses, the thing of bail should be, as it is said, it is a right, but it can be taken away. So I think for capital offenses, this right can always be taken away. Of course, bail is a right, but the final judgment rests on the judge.
Okay, I would like to interject from there.
Yes.
You're saying that bail should not be granted to capital offenders, but also Article 8 reminds us the presumption of innocence. You know? Now, if you're saying that the person should be denied bail, and yet court has not proved them to be guilty, I can give you a reminder about the Chiza Besigye rape case. You remember the ruling where the person said that it was quite detrimental to spoil someone's image of rape. So now, if you're living in a state that fabricates evidence, how sure are you that that person has committed that crime? I'd like to pose it to Jojo. What is your take?
Thank you, Andrew. And I would like to correct you that the point is who gives bail and when should bail be given.
True.
So, I will give you two stanzas to what I'm talking about. One, there's what we call delegable rights. These are rights which can never be taken away from you by the government. That is freedom from torture, right to fair hearing, right to habeas corpus, and right to freedom from slavery. And in those rights, there's nowhere they are saying that there's right to bail. So it means bail can be taken away. But the point is, who is going to take it away? That was Article 44 of the Constitution. Who is supposed to take away bail from you? Now this one takes me to what we call separation of powers. What is separation of powers? According to Montesquieu, he's like, for separation of powers, there must be a legislature, a judiciary, and the executive. So the three arms of the government, they must be independent. So when you tell me that the president is taking away bail, it means that the executive is interfering into the judiciary. And this one, it brings to my understanding that actually in Uganda there's no separation of powers.
Let me just pose a question to you again, Jojo. You must well remember that the government you're talking about takes a huge percentage in the parliament. 2, you must also remember that the president has a mandate and a responsibility to take concerns of the people. As he's in his speech, he said that the reason why he's bringing the issue of denial of bail is that people are complaining to him. 1, that he was given a mandate to represent the voices of the people. 2, he must also answer and be accountable to the people that he leads. So if the people that he leads say that you're giving people that bail, that they come to our communities that again torture us. So don't you think, even though there's a separation of power, the president has to interject where the authorities and these arms have failed to discuss or to agree? Back to you, Jojo.
Let me tell you, Mr. Andrew. Now, are we to believe that the president is everything in Uganda? First of all, my question is, if you say that the president is supposed to intervene and do something, it means that now you are not considering what we mean by separation of powers. It means that the judge, actually judges, they are like subordinates to the president.
But the president is the highest appellate court.
Exactly.
Now,
Weather is good.
my point is,
George has said?
yeah, I'm getting
The president is the highest appellate court.
I would like to correct that.
I want to correct him. I don't want to correct him.
I don't want this to go wrong on air. When Owinyo Dolo, the Chief Justice, said that the president is the highest appellate court, he didn't mean in actual reality, but what he meant was that since you have denied us the judiciary, you have disrespected the separation of powers, you interject your arms through our decision making. So since you make the decisions, you're the higher appellate court. So you speak about the courts, you speak about the judiciary, but he didn't mean that he's the highest appellate court, but he wanted to mock him in front of the nation.
Should I defend my view?
Okay.
They say that when the person is put on death row, that death row, it has to be signed by the president. So who is the highest appellate court? If the president does not sign, then you still be on death row. So he's the highest appellate court. Before he signs you,
He's not. If we look to the structures of court, we have the magistrate courts, then we have the high court, we have the constitutional court, and the Supreme Court. Period. In the law, there is no court called the president. Thank you so much.
So let's go back to Jojo. Yes, you were still giving your points before we had some constitution about what they were presenting.
Can I continue?
Yes.
So, I want to tell you, Josh, that as long as you are in a country and the two organs of the government, actually this is not the first time this thing is happening. You remember the case of Chiza Besigye when he was in court and the Black Mamba came and took him away after being given bail. So, to my concern is, it means that there is something which you call the government trying to be the head. The government is trying to show that it is supposed to make every decision on its own. Actually, they should stand and they tell us that we no longer have courts, we only have the executive in the country. Because it seems like the president is the only one who is going to decide on everything they're supposed to do.
So Jojo presents a nice point of that the president has interjected or he has influenced most of the decisions in court. And I would not like to distaste from his argument, but I would like to get the opinion from Doris. Do you think the president has respected the separation of powers? And if he hasn't, what should be the take, or what should the government do to intervene in such disrespect of separation of powers?
Okay, thank you so much, the moderator. Now, we have to look at certain issues before we say the president is interfering in the rights of other people. He's doing what he's not supposed to do. Now we want to ask yourself a question. Who are the people complaining? Like the moderator said at the first, that some people are complaining, someone does something, before you take him to the police, before you leave, someone is bailed out to work, Now, who are that category of people complaining? You want to believe that the category of people complaining, there are these people down, these people in the villages, these people are not more educated. It means that those people to explain to those people that we have the judiciary, the executive, and this, it is going to be very hard for them. So now what is the problem? The problem is that people are not informed on what should be done, you see? You cannot come out and tell someone that the president should not interfere, like someone said. Anyway, to some people, the president is the head of everything in the country. So they want to look at what is the president doing, because they don't know that those the judiciary, executive, and they are there, you see? So now that is the problem that we should look at. The president is not interfering, is interfering because a certain group of people who don't understand what should be done are complaining. And the only way to help them out is to come out on air and tell them this and this is wrong. Maybe perhaps if he goes out there and talks to those people, they're not going to understand better. I think the problem should be...
Jojo has a consultation about your presentation. Jojo, what's the issue that you want to raise on board?
People, when you say people who do not understand, are we to believe that the president is the one who is choosing people who do not understand? Because we are to believe that the president is the one who is going to choose the judges.
Okay.
So when you choose the judges and you go again and you tell them that you are not supposed to do this, it means you don't trust what they are doing.
I'm not saying...
Before I get back to you, let me get a point from Baraba, then you can...
Yes, thank you, moderator. Jojo, the president does not choose judges. Let me
Who
clarify
appoints
this.
the chief justice?
The president does not appoint. It is a system. It is a system. How does it work? The judiciary recommends. After recommending, the names are taken to parliament. The parliament vets. I don't know how to phrase it well, but they call it vetting.
Yeah, they call it.
Vetting, eh? They vet. Then after vetting, the names are sent the president for assent or for appointment.
How many names are sent to you?
Now, you see, that system...
On that point,
Thank you.
Nicholas, you had...
Okay, me, I just wanted to do some collection. Baraba, who is my good friend, the Judicial Service Commission selects names. The credible candidates are sent to the president. The president selects from those credible candidates the final candidate per judge.
Just one.
Then a judge is taken to parliament. Thank you.
So he has answered your queries?
So meaning the president appoints the chief justice. Thank you.
It is a system.
But I want us to say...
Private.
No, but
It still runs that after
I just want...
among the three or four names presented.
Let's not run away from
one.
bail. I want to just correct this. Let's guide the house and also the viewers that are seeing this.
True.
Yeah, him appointing does not mean that the person is representing the voice. That's his authority and it's indicated under the article. So now, he does not even say that he should be or she should be. No. Parliament also has another role, which we respect as a separation of power. So if Parliament denies him or her, then they are right, or he has not provided, or he has not influenced what is going to happen. So he provides a name which Parliament sits on and decides, Then, if the Parliament approves or disagrees, it's up to them. But we have seen in most scenarios where I think most people believe that the president also has another issue, is that the president, there's a time when I think some lady, is a minister, she was denied by the Parliament, but later on she was agreed. Kavoyo. Thanks for the correction. Yes, let's get back to you, Doris. You're saying?
Okay, my fellow panelist came in and said that the president, anyway, what I was trying to mean, he got me in a wrong way. What I was trying to mean is that why is the president intervening in these issues? Because a certain group of people that don't understand law, people that don't understand those things are complaining, and I want us to believe that people who don't understand this the more are the people that are interfering. So I do not want to say that a president is interfering in certain issues he should not look at, but he's trying his best to ensure that at least some category of people they get informed. And still, what should we look at here? We should look at a point that we should look at a point that let's the country be informed of what takes what. If someone is bailed, why are they, and why should they not be bailed?
Okay.
So as
Now,
communication can be.
Doris brings an issue of that people have not been taught, and we say ignorance of the law has no defense.
Yes.
So, but is the president, because the president is the fountain of honor. He has other officers below him who are supposed to do that. The judiciary has to put those initiatives to sensitize people about that. So, if the president is forefronting such an issue, shouldn't we have worries, Darren, that the president wants to make it a political issue, that politicians or oppositions should face hard times to get bail? So don't you think this bail is politically motivated at the back of your mind?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. From the beginning, I said I would love to speak as a leader. Now, here comes a president bringing in a topic for discussion, actually. That's why he had called a caucus. He laid it to his fellow people for discussion. Now, there are reasons as to why the president is for flaunting this bailment. Actually, it's specified on 2 capital offenses. Someone who has committed, which is this lowest offense.
Assault.
Let it be assault. That one can be granted bail. But then there are these capital offenses. 1, there is terrorism. 2, there is murder. An eye for an eye. Moderator talked about the issue of committing such an offense, call it murder, into a certain village. You heard of the massacre incidences, Bijambia. Tonight they have killed my relative. We have got a suspect. We took him to police, but within an hour he's out. Which confusion or which image will it bring into a certain village where such a crime was committed? There comes in what you call mob justice. So now, to forego or put people at peace, I also suggest that President has actually the best idea to scrap off these bailments for capital offenses. I actually.
Let's allow Baraba then later.
2 minutes, just.
Thank you.
Brother, thank you so much. Let me point you. Let me draw this case. Remember the case of BCJ in 2006?
Yes.
I want to drive you to the case of, it is just of recent, it was decided, it is Kawaziguruka versus Attorney General. I think you all, it's circulated. Now, that Kawaziguruka case was it started in 2016. But 2016, let me just brief it. He was he was running for a race in Kawempe, in Nakawa. Then he was arraigned. He was arrested for a case that he helped military officers to commit treason. Then he was arraigned into. He was taken to the court martial. He challenged that and successfully applied for bail. He was given bail. Then he had the case outside. The BCJ case, he was also granted bail. Numbers was also granted bail. Now, let's imagine, those people were denied bail. They were denied bail. They have stayed in prison for those years. Remember, when you are inside, you cannot gather evidence. I would advocate for, they should be given bail and they prove their innocence. Because if you subject them from not getting bail, you are attacking the right of fair hearing.
Before I engage in Jojo, you're saying that they should be given bail. But there is a worry that I have. What if they interfere with the evidence that they are trying to gather? You may say that he's gathering evidence, yet he's hiding the machetes that he used, or he's hiding the guns.
Yes, exactly.
So, if they are given bail, don't you think it's also problematic in its nature?
That's the role of state, to collect evidence. The state attorneys, they should collect the evidence and pin it. Also, the person who is supposed to be given bail, or the accused, should also collect his evidence. It is not now. Let's not see it in that way that when I'm given bail, I will hide the evidence.
No,
yes,
it's a must.
I will not hide
You must
evidence.
cover yourself.
You should
You must.
also look for your evidence, as I also defend myself.
Okay,
Thank you.
Jojo, yes, you had a point before you go back to Dodo.
Thank you, Baraba. Now this one will take me to the part of the intelligence part of Uganda. You see, to me, I will say that the intelligence part of Uganda is the backward one. What do I mean? You are supposed to be giving people bail and you follow them down when they don't know to get the results. These are suspects, because the day someone is a suspect, it means that he's going to be proved guilty for him to be a criminal. So for the court and the intelligence to get the results that someone is a criminal, they're supposed to be given them.
You talk about following up, but this is the same ministry and the Ministry of Internal Affairs has been complaining about police does not have enough cars. You remember in Masaka, the police had to first get vehicles from Kampala, motorcycles from Kampala, even that take pictures that they have motorcycles. But you're talking about, let's give a case of scenario that have released 20 suspects in a case of Masaka, and they're in different places. So this is what we need, the resources that to be available to them. One, Uganda does not have enough money. Although that the defense takes a lot of money, but are there enough resources to monitor those individuals in their various backgrounds? They have to benchmark, they have to be given facilitation, everything involves a lot of expenditure. Do you think the government is ready to finance such cases and also follow up to that?
Andrew, your point is going to take me to corruption, and I may not be ready to exhaust that part to my extent. But let me tell you, when you tell me that the government does not have money to fund the police, it means that you are trying to challenge my understanding. The government is giving the MPs everything, which is actually think it's unnecessary. Actually, they're supposed to be funding the police instead of trying to sort away what we call bail.
Yes, adding my voice to his. What government should do? It should strengthen those systems. The police, the judiciary, the executive, they should strengthen those systems such that we get justice.
So back to Delon, you were still presenting before this contestation happened. You can proceed.
Yes, thank you, AK, His Worship. I think I would call in for the suspects now, because I believe they haven't been proven guilty. Okay, so they still run as suspects. Why I defy from their grant bail, as from the moderator said. How are you sure that they are not going to cover out themselves when they're out of the prison? Maybe hiding out all the evidence actually we should be using as the court. So, but remember, being suspects, they have their rights. Actually, the rights of a criminal, access to the lawyer and whatsoever. Let those suspects use their lawyers to gather all the evidence to prove them innocent. In hand as actually the government also running lawyers, in.
But you well know that most opposition leaders, for example, like of Bobi Wine, they have been to access them. It has been hard for their lawyers to see their clients. So, do you think it's very possible in that current regime for them to?
Well, I know the reason as to why they are always denied it, because they are Kavuyo people. They cause a lot of chaos. But then, if they are calm, actually, I want to draw this image to you. Toko Vurkwago, you remember those incidences he used to fight with the government? He was allowed because he's a calm man. He's a calm man. But how about the so-called Bobi Wine? Everyone is up, swinging in, causing mob justice here and there. That's why. Yes, actually. So that's why there should be stability. And as NRM, actually, we advocate for stability. We need a peaceful country. Let's work under the law. If we know the law, the so-called Rukwago, this man has always actually achieved all his rights under custody. So now, I drive in and stay and actually make a point and submission that actually the president is right. Let these capital offenses have no bail.
Okay. I want to to engage Nicholas. He says that they shouldn't be given bail. And all these capital offenses relate to the statehood, and even it involves the political nature. Terrorism. We have found cases of Bobi Wine being saying that over 30 people had one gun. Up to this date, we are looking for that gun and those bullets. And they are being framed. And we must also remember the Constitution guarantees the presumption of innocence.
Yes.
Now, all these capital offenses have a mind of its own because they relate to the state, and the state is governed by a politician. So, don't we feel that if bail is denied, it shall be a political motivated issue? What is your take, Nicholas?
The courts may give bail, may. So if the courts may, under what circumstances? The circumstances are provided constitutionally. Sometimes I believe the president is a professor of politics these days. President Museveni, our grandfather. Every time we are setting off for a good year to kick off a campaign or of having a productive 5-year term, a new thing comes in. When we are 2006, we are like, now we are going to work for Vision 2040, Magra Forest. We drag into parliament, we don't legislate, no bills, no what. 3 years down the road, parliament hasn't said anything. We are just down, no reports, no what. The country is down. This time round, we have begun a new chapter of bail. Bail, 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 bail. Remember, the parliament has a lot to do. You remember the Susan Chugura case? The parliament was directing the judiciary that there is a should. They should. Later, upon the appeal, it was may.
Discretion.
Discretion of court. So now, if it's by the discretion of court, we have the justices at hand. Actually, Uganda has some of the business in the world, I think. Their CV tells it all. All of them, Echirukubiza, the group. You see them and you're like, wow, Uganda has the best. State capture happens. The state is captured. If you capture state, to the average minds, it seems okay. The president is a fountain of knowledge, it is okay, we can live like that, he's a good man. No, the state can be captured. We saw it in South Africa. The Kuptas captured the state to the extent that the airport VIP #1 presidential line was used by a different person who was not even a minister. Are you seeing those scenarios? So whenever I hear something, the president is human, he's like me. He went to school, he has a bachelor's degree, like you. He went to Dar es Salaam University. So he's also like you. So every issue that comes from the state, I've given you the Susan Chugura case. The thing was should, but later it was may. Discretion.
Let me engage. You talked about the case of Susan Chugura case.
Yes.
And it also gives the fundamental values of right to life.
Yes.
And according to his speech, the president said that it's an eye for an eye. But you're talking about for an eye for an eye, the person has not yet been proven to be guilty. You know?
Yes.
Now, when you bring the death penalty in question, that means that you're going to bring conveniences or even issues while someone is innocent. Because you have seen these cases, for example, the opposition leaders, you know, they are framed for having committed a case. That they have guns, like for example, Bobby Wine, the recent case, you can look at the case of Chizabesi saying that he had raped someone, but all these were innocent.
Okay.
Now, if you want to implement the policy of Museveni saying an eye for an eye, is it problematic in its own nature?
Thank you, Andy. Now, my problem I have with this government is one, technicalities. The average mind in Kabare, Rutoma, in Kasense, Rukavera, if you told him, do you trust the police officer handing over your case? What does he say?
No.
What does he say? He says no. You see, the reality is you are becoming too legal over issues which are ordinary. My grandmother tells me every morning that policemen are thieves.
They are.
So why don't we first sort out the police officer, the investigation team? You see a CID, he tells you, I need 50,000, I need 20,000. Someone is at the UV salary of you 5. He is facilitated by the state. And he's telling me, I want this, I want that, I want this.
Are you sure they are facilitating?
You see now,
But that
if
money
we are
is
losing,
random.
you see,
It does not
annually,
reach them. It does not reach them.
Thank you, His
That is
Worship.
another discussion for
another day.
For another day.
but
Whether
now,
money reaches them or not.
my issue is one.
They are saving for them.
Why do the ordinary people, the average minds in the villages, perceive that the police is not a good institution, yet everything goes wrong at the police stations?
Okay,
Hands under them.
as I'm engaging Mark to begin with the way forward, Nicholas brings a fundamental point that the police has a problem. But also, before you blame the police, then why do states or why do state operatives arrest people accusing them of certain crimes without hard evidence? Because we have had issues in court where the prosecution says that we are still looking for evidence. But by the time you're to deny them bail, I think the issue would be that by the time you're to deny them bail, then you have fundamental reasons or strong evidence to stop them. So why doesn't the police first gather evidence? Then the issue of stopping them from being given bail can be answered. So, Mark, don't you think the police has to first solve the fundamentals of gathering evidence? Then we can also say that if they are going to present the evidence before court, then the presumption of either being innocent or guilty can be proven with evidence, because who alleges must prove. So don't you think the police has to prove that that person committed that capital offense?
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. I would like to remind us the authority that we are on, Article 23, 6, Clause 6 of the Constitution, that gives a right to bail to every Ugandan, to every citizen, to every accused. And Article 28 goes ahead to remind us that they are presumed innocent until proven guilty. And as he said, court proves whether a person is innocent or guilty. In capital offenses, I would also say we can, once proven innocent, be freed, or in the process a person can be given bail because it is their right. Meanwhile, we are saying in a murder case, as the president said, specifically his focus was on a murder case, that if someone has killed someone, kill them too. But come on, we have seen a case in Swiss, I've forgotten the particulars, but a policeman was compelled by someone and they killed them when they had gone to rescue them. After 16, were they 16 years? Around 16 years, yes. In jail, they were arraigned before court and the case was reduced to manslaughter after gathering the evidence. Yet they were sentenced on a murder ruling. And it brings back now to a point, brings me to a point that if that person maybe was given bail at the start, they wouldn't suffer the same, because I don't think that the government will at one time compensate them. Yes, to my country now, the president has been in power for now over 30 years. In 1995, he read the Constitution before it was given to the people, having in mind that he approved and accepted that Article 23 is good and right and very okay,
But in my
for
submission,
the people. So you can't tell me now, and murder cases have been on board, people have been given bail before they are sentenced for all these 30 years. So you can't tell me that in 2 years,
Can I engage
over
in that?
30, you realize that
I have
You
told
realize
you
that the
bail
law
has
is
been
now
a problem.
Order,
Since
order.
1995,
Order.
bail has been a problem.
Let me engage on that. The reason why, because laws change, you must accept that.
yes,
Now, the reason why the president, in his speech, he said the reason why he wants to talk about the issue of bail was, one, it was being abused. Two, the recent killings of the massacre, because massacre has been a problem from the right start. Every time killings in massacre, Pangamen in massacre. And the reason, to him, in his speech, he thought that these people being given bail, they go back and terrorize the city.
You see,
don't you think he has a right to talk about that?
I'm strongly disagreeing with him. One being that when these people are given bail, I have not actually heard over these cases that they have arrested 20 people over the same case, and when they were given bail, then another tragedy happened. Not really, if you can read your history very well. These things happen actually after a long while, and not only when these people are given bail. What does bail have to do with the killings? I mean, if you will tell me of the police bond, it would be unfair. Is it justice when you say that when I kill a person, I should be maybe sentenced, okay, I should not be given bail, and you say it is justice? But when we've talked of assault, one of the panelists said that when someone is assaulted, they should be given bond, police bond. Is it justice to the person that, is a victim to the assault? Are you giving justice? Meanwhile, it is the same. It is the same.
So,
if
you can give.
thank you. If this person, you don't have actually evidence enough to show that they murdered, then they are innocent until you prove it. and they deserve bail.
Okay.
Let them be. Actually, they have other things to do that contribute to their country, their families, and everyone around. It's not a matter of the deceased. There are people that are still up and alive that actually survive on the same person. Is a
So give him
breadwinner.
bail so that he can go out and murder others?
I know
It's
this
not
Is that what you're
I know
meaning?
this topic won't
And
end.
how sure are you?
Okay.
My point here is,
Yes.
Okay.
they are still innocent. You don't have enough evidence to show that they murdered. Give them bail.
Okay. As dear viewers, as you can see, the debate is heated here. But
You see-
as we come to the conclusive remarks, the issues that are to be in consideration. The issue of bond, because while the president says that when people are taken to the police, they're released, but for him, he's talking about bail that is guaranteed by the court. So, as we are coming to the conclusive remarks from the panelists, the issues are here. Was the president wrong to comment about bail, or he should have commented about bond? Two, don't we think that the government has a responsibility to empower the security operatives to make enough research and evidence before they say, as so and so denied bail, they have enough evidence? The reason why I feel that it's controversial to themselves, which I think the panelists can correct me, is that you cannot deny someone bail, and even when you deny them bail, the court proves them that they are still innocent. And you must also respect the fundamental of the country, which is the constitution, that everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Then even the Susan Chugula case talks about the right to life. So now if he says an eye for an eye, yet the person you have not proven him or her to be guilty, you know, then you also have not given them enough evidence, because they say who alleges must prove. So I'd like to engage Barab on that issue. What is the way forward, and who should be blamed in this case? Do you think that the parliament and the government should be held accountable, or there are other means that we can see this issue of bills handled at hand?
Thank you, moderator. Me, I will only blame Mr. Muzei or Mr. Kibuhauro, because he's the person bringing the controversies. One, a right to bail is, we have said it is not mandatory. It can be taken away or it can be granted on fulfilling certain conditions. Let me pose a question. For example, right now, when you get back home, you know that you can be arrested. You know that you can be arrested that you on charges of treason. Now suppose they are, remember treason is a capital offense. Now suppose the president's request is fulfilled and the capital offense is they don't give bail to the capital offense. Now is it really fair for you to be just proven guilty there and then and you don't prove you're innocent? The president is taking us away. He's just running away. He's running away from the law. He wants us to be like Rwanda or France. Because what they believe in you're proven guilty unless you prove you're innocent. That's why he's taking us. So I still say we should go by what we have. Because if we grant bail, if we deny bail to those guys, we are just attacking the right of fair hearing. And the right of fair hearing is non-derogable. Thank you so much.
What's your take, Joshua?
To me, because yesterday the Attorney General promised that he will deliver a list of cases where people have been given bail and then they go back and terrorize the society. To me, I think this bail should be now put in a state like before they give you bail, before you're bailed out, because we have seen cases where someone has not even taken 2 weeks in prison, the guy is bailed out. I think to me, the police should first gather all the evidence and see. Then you can ask for bail. Because we have seen instances where you ask for bail and then you go back and alter with all the investigations.
Okay, Mark.
But Josh, you see, when you say that you should be behind bars, meanwhile as they are looking for evidence, we've seen cases that have gone to 8 years and the prosecution is saying they've not yet gathered enough evidence. I'm wondering, will someone be compensated when they find out that they are innocent after the 8 years, when they are behind the bars, and simply because they were denied bail, yet they can argue their case while you're finding your evidence? in the same period.
While
We
you're
give our
altering with
personal
evidence.
recommendations, please. I think we are giving our personal recommendations now to the same topic.
Yes,
Not
yes.
arguments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To me, actually, there is a recent scenario. I might not pin the bodies, but this is where a family, it got complications. And now the husband finally, the kids are blamed for the death of their mother. There was a camera on the gate that recorded almost everything, a very good camera. You know what the police did? They came and destroyed the camera immediately. Have you seen the police? So the kids are now framed that they are the ones responsible for the murder of their mother. So now you wait. Do you see the police you're talking about? So now,
So what's the way forward? What do you recommend?
according to me, as I earlier said, let them carry out the investigations before, thorough investigations. Then you as the criminal, you can come later and ask for bail when everything is done. Because we don't want to bail you out and then you go back and terrorize the society.
Okay. Jojo, what's your recommendation? What's your way forward? Who's to blame? And what should be done?
To me, I'm going to stand on my point that if we are to keep in such an economy where everything is done by the president as the final man, we are going to wake up one day and we find that the president says no eating and we don't eat. So, to me, I recommend one. We have to believe that the separation of powers must work. That's the point. Another thing, we have to believe that for one to be given bail, it's real, it's reasonable. Because first of all, the person you are going to give bail, you are not sure whether he's a criminal or not. It's just a suspect. Actually, to me, I will recommend the government to fund the intelligences to make sure that they get the requirements to get the results. Because there's no way you are going to stand and you say that someone is guilty before you have even proved it, and you don't want to give him bail. Actually, let them allow the bail to take place, and in actual sense, they go underground and follow to find the truth. Actually, that's what should be done.
Okay. Those are his views. What's your take, Doris? Do you think the government should be held accountable? Or we think even the citizens or the president, because Jojo in his presentation says that the president cannot have a say. But we must also remember that he has a mandate to the people. He has complaints because Masaka people, when they visited him at the State House, they had issues. The issues were that people are being given bail and yet the people are suspecting them to have been killed their relatives. So do you think the president was right to interject on the right of bail? And what's the way forward?
Thank you so much, the modulator. To me, I think it was right for the president to interject in because we are looking at very many people are suffering. If you can take a case in point, when you take someone to the police, for you are suspecting, one, to suspect someone, it means you have certain reasons leading you to that. And tomorrow you find the same person sitting with you in the same place. You know, it is a little bit insecure for the people. To me, I think what we should look at is laws can be changed and everything can be changed at any time. Before they bail out someone, let some good information, thorough information be brought on table before you bail out someone, because it is really hurting to bail someone today and tomorrow they do the same thing. You're waiting to gather information. The information they gather for quite 2 years, they're gathering information. One, we have to know that corruption is in this. So why can't we have uncorrupt leaders who can at least help the government and the people out there before they bail out these people that do criminals? Because if you are suspect to a certain percentage, you can do that very thing. Why should he be a suspect out of all the people in this country? So let at least some good information be brought on table and do quick research about certain issues before they bail out.
So as you heard what Doris was saying, Delon, as we come to your conclusive remarks, I want you to talk on the issue of corruption. Do you think also it's playing a vital role in the denial of bail?
Well, thank you so much. I would love to start with this slogan: One Uganda, one people. Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. I want to start with this slogan that one Uganda, one people. As Uganda, we live, actually, we have been introduced to a system of stability and peace. I believe I'd say that maybe before the president had to take up this stand of scrapping off the bailment from capital offenses there were reasons. Drawing it from the massacre incidences, people are living in, actually, their peace have been taken away by these Vijambia people. So, also bring it that the constitution actually was made by the Ugandans and actually can be and has to be amended where necessary. Actually, I believe that this constitution can be amended for peace and stability of our country. Let us not draw in that a bail when it comes to these capital offenses, the so-called Vijambia. Murder. How do you murder someone today? Yes. And tomorrow, you're out. Before one is arrested, there are reasons. There are reasons. And that's why actually you're kept fast so that proper and more evidence is brought before court for your evictions, okay? So, I believe, Mr. President, our mighty Mzee has a good reason for scrapping off the bail. Thank you so much.
As Nicholas gives these conclusive remarks, the preamble of the Constitution talks about why certain laws were implemented, tyranny and other issues. But the issue of the bail is has not been consulted from the public. Don't you think there is a need for the referendum in Uganda to ask whether bail should be denied or reinstated? What's your take about that, Nicholas?
Thank you, Andrew. Now I'm growing old. 2 decades and some good time here on earth. I'm a CEO, I'm a senior stakeholder nowadays. I believe some issues in the world are more technical than a popular stand of Miss World. We are not in a beauty contest now. We are in an issue of technicality. Issues of technicality are called for to be discussed by scholars and people who understand these issues. So when someone says, bail off, and all of a sudden people say, bail, all over, you have heard that the thing is more legal. It calls for the legal brains. But now you're subjecting this very issue to a popular stand. You want this yes and no thing. I want to take it to Parliament tomorrow, and we say, should we scrap off bail? And all of a sudden say, yeah, we get it off. Are you hearing? The issue which is more technical, issues of technicality are not beauty contests.
Let me just interject there.
Yes, sir.
You know these laws affect the people.
Yes.
And you must know that they surrender their rights to the state.
Yes.
But in any case, that if their rights are going to be infringed, their voices must be heard. Don't you think in such implementations of quite vital issues, like for example bail, which may be affecting, it can be either him and either it can be today. So why don't we try to engage the public? What do they have to say? Because this, at the end of it all, it affects the common man in the country.
Now, you are asking something that I'm trying to reply to you. Do you think that my grandmother at 90 we understand these legal issues very well? Sometimes during Tujikwata Kai was around, very old and vibrant, stakeholders were invited to Parliament. Myself, I saw Mzee Kanyihamba being pushed on a wheelchair to discuss the Tujikwata Kai issue with stakeholders, like both people are discussing issues. But I'm trying to tell you, not every issue is subjected to a popular view. Some issues are more technical for the ordinary man, because average minds believe that everything from a popular politician, even the one who has attained P1 and is a counselor, is right. So we should move from that side and say, since this issue is more legal, the Attorney General, that is Chirwa Chwanaka, a very reputable man, I trust him, form a very good bench, sit down, discuss an issue, tell the president actually misfired the event. We are busy talking about Benedicto Chwanaka, and the big man is like, bail. Actually, his speech was miscalculated. He would have, actually, it is an issue of national importance. He would have requested for time, sat down with the Attorney General. We have
As you conclude your F word.
My F word is, Mr. President, I like you so much, and I'm your good son. But one, not every issue in this country should be subjected to popular stand. I want you to as our Mzee, you invite stakeholders, sit down, discuss over it. And again, make sure that the structures of government, systems, police work. This is the only country in the world where politics is the way of life. Other countries survive on economies like the US and Japan. Thank you.
Okay. As Mark is going to give the conclusive remarks, he says that it should not be subjected to the popular stand. But I would like, since we are part of the East African community, we had an issue of the BBI report in Kenya. And if voices of the people weren't consulted through the BBI report and legal matters were presented in court, the people would have not been considered because their voices wanted to be heard, what they had to say about the BBI report. And a referendum was made which was subjected even to court. So don't you think that if we don't follow such a strand of considering the voices, because if we don't consider, at the end of it all, that same law has an impact or repercussion on the people in the country. So don't you think that there is a need for consultation for the common man in the country? As you give your conclusive remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator Andrew. But as I told you, that I'm seeing politics in this. Mzee has been here for over 30 years, over the same laws, under the same constitution, and the same factors, the same cases have been happening over now and again, and bails have been granted. And I'm wondering why come up in 2 years and say bail should be off. Anyway, if it should be, then it means we have to go back to the law and change the article where we say they should be presumed innocent until proven guilty, then tell us they should be proven guilty until they should be presumed guilty until proven innocent, which is actually a very difficult thing. You know, it is better to be good and you're proven bad, and it is very difficult and complicated. Actually, it might go in vain when someone thinks you're bad to prove to them that you're good. We have, as my co-panelist said, Nicholas, CEO earlier, that these should be legal brains to discuss the issue that deals with legality. The MPs, if we are to say that they should consult the people, yes, they can consult their people over the same, get their views and bring them to parliament, and then these the lawyers or those who know the law and the concerned stakeholders sit and discuss the matter of bail. And I don't think it should be actually the president to give a final remark and tell us bail be scrapped off without a further detailed discussion and reasons and a report from the same committee.
Even you can't forget understaffing the judiciary.
And maybe to say bail is crucial. Bail is crucial.
You've heard what they had to say. They discussed issues from teenage pregnancy to universities and to the last important, quite vital issue of bail. The viewers out there, you heard what they had to say. I would like to see in the comment section what you have to say. Today I had Mark with me, Nicholas, Delon, Doris, Jojo, Josh, and Baraba. Thank you for coming. Till next time, we sign out.
Thank you.
We had views from the panelists, and we wanted to get a legal scholar, a person who has researched, who has read about it, who has experienced such issues. And this is where I want to introduce Counsel Philmon. He will introduce himself and he will discuss and digest more about bail. And I'd like to engage him shortly after the break. Catch you later. Dear viewers, welcome back from the break. Like I promised you, I told you I'm going to bring you an interesting person called Philmon, a legal scholar who has experienced and also studied about bail. And he's going to give the conclusive remarks and his take and what is bail. So, Philmon, welcome. Can you please introduce yourself? First, introduce to the viewers who's Philmon, what does he do, and you can go to the main digest of the issue.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Tumwesije Philmon, and I'm a legal scholar, and I am a political analyst, and I've discussed issues like this on various occasions. I'm very happy for you to invite me here, and I'm very glad to make a contribution to this topic.
Okay, so what is bail? A viewer out there wants to know, what is bail?
Basically, bail is an agreement between an accused person and the court for this person to be released either on conditions, or sometimes it can be unconditional, that this person will be released and will come back as and when he is needed in court.
Okay, now the viewer must now be asking themselves question. What are the requirements? What is the procedure for someone who wants to be granted bail? What are the procedures?
Okay. First of all, I want to make it clear that I have heard people discuss that bail is a right, and that is wrong. What is in the Constitution is the right to apply for bail, okay? Which means the person only has the right to apply for bail, but whether or not that bail can be granted is at the discretion of the court, okay? You have the right to apply for bail, then the court will decide upon certain considerations whether to grant you the bail or to deny the bail. And the law is very clear that for ordinary offenses, okay, the court will look at the antecedents of the accused person. Have you been an offender before? How did you react when they were arresting you? They can look at the nature of the accusations. If it is a very serious crime, the court can look into that. Then what is the likelihood of this person? What is the likelihood of this person to interfere with the witnesses? Okay? And then for capital offenses, I think the debate recently is about the capital offenses. Okay? For capital offenses, the ones tried by the High Court, the court has limited discretion in a way that the court has to look at special circumstances. Okay? What is your health? Okay? If you can prove that you have maybe advanced age, okay, then that is when you can be released on bail for capital offenses. So for capital offenses, it is more stringent than the ordinary offenses.
Now, our dear viewer must be there saying, because he had a communication from the president, beginning from the remembering of Benedict Chwanka. He also went back to his national issues of importance, where he said that bail should not be guaranteed. And the viewer out there, the common man, is worried. What does the president, or how much power does he have on bail? Don't you think he's infringing on the rights of the people? What's your take on the presidential's address of national importance when he said about bail should an eye for an eye, and also even bail should not be guaranteed to capital offenders?
I regret to say that perhaps the president is being misadvised, or is speaking out of excitement or anger. Okay? For the president to wake up one day and talk about bail to be scrapped off, I think it is very unfortunate. And I think every person, and not being right as it is, but generally a person who is being accused is a suspect, which means by necessary implication is an innocent person until you prove. Okay? So this person is a human being. He deserves to be heard. He deserves to be released on bail because he can come back. Because bail is a condition that he can come back to stand his trial in court. Okay? Now, for the president to wake up and say that bail should be denied or whatever, I think it is very regrettable. And I think the president should go back and think about it. Okay? Anyway, the president can instead, even if he wants to change the law, I was telling my people that Article 23 of the Constitution falls under the Bill of Rights, okay? And the Bill of Rights falls among the entrenched articles in the Constitution, which you cannot just change whether you are the president or even the parliament before. You can only change that provision by a referendum. Okay? So at the end of the day, even if they want to change this law, the people will still have their say through the referendum.
So now you talk about the president is not wrong, but he was voted into office and he has the mandate to represent the voices of the people. And this comes at a time when issues of the massacre killing are happening on a daily. And the issue is that the massacre has been at a center stage of people having what we call series of murders at a given point. And the issue where the president comes in and questions the urgency of bail, he thinks that the same people that are being released are the same people that commit those offenses. And he thinks that if they are kept somewhere until proven guilty, then that means that the massacre killings would be narrowed down. So what's your take? Don't you think the president was right to say, for the case of the likelihood of machete killings, let us first deny the people the bail.
I understand the point at which the president was making this communication. Okay, first of all, as the fountain of honor, as the as the first citizen of this country, okay, he is concerned about the lives of the Ugandans. As any human being, it is not okay to condone killing, and I strongly condemn the killings that have been happening in Masaka or elsewhere in the country. No person deserves to die at the hands of another. Okay? So the president, by the way, has some valid points. Okay? And all of us will agree that if a person has killed another, okay, he should not be let free. Okay? But then to deny that person bail is also wrong. Okay? So my opinion is that let the institutions be empowered to make enough research, to make enough investigations, to gather enough evidence before arresting a person. Okay? That means if you arrest a person and you already have enough evidence, cogent evidence against that accused person, then that person will be tried and convicted within the shortest time possible. The problem in Uganda is that the police will arrest a person and then start investigating. Okay? That is why the process will take sometimes 5 years, 10 years, and it is ridiculous. Okay? Because it goes against the principles of a fair hearing. This person is denied his own liberty, even at the point when he is presumed innocent.
But you must also, I want to just interject, you must also know that the security operatives also have a protection, I can say, that they have that money to arrest someone if they feel that that person has an influence to affect the evidence they are trying to gather. So don't you think sometimes they are right and protected under the law, because we are dealing with legality and also...
Yeah, be it as it may, even when they are right, or even when they are doing the right thing, in Uganda we know the series of these events. Some of these prosecutions have been politically propagated. Okay? I don't want to delve into that area, but you know, sometimes, for example, I know Dr. Kizza Besigye, he has been arrested and arraigned in court several times, and I don't know in any incident where he has been convicted. Okay? So it is a good thing and it comes in good faith, but it can be misused. And we have seen this happening, and I am not shocked that the president is talking about it, because in the end, he may even use it against the opposition to attack them, to arrest them and then deny them bail, and then at the end of the day, they don't have a say.
So, as we come to the close of the show, what is your way forward, and what's your take about what should the government do, and what should these states, or who should have a central stage in the implementation, or should bail be granted, or should the right be reinstated as we conclude?
Yeah, first of all, like I said earlier, the right to apply for bail is constitutionally granted. The judges should exercise their discretion without interference from the president, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. Okay? The judges should consider certain things before granting this bail or before denying this bail. Okay? So my views, or the judges have this right. The ball is in their hands. Okay? And my appeal to the judges and the entire judiciary is that they should grant the bail when there is need. They should deny the bail when they have considered certain factors and they see that it is important to deny such a person bail. To the president should empower the state institutions. Okay? The police should be given enough facilitation to carry out investigations. Okay? And I am saying this because I know the judiciary and the police, every year, they have been the most corrupt institutions in the country. Okay? And these are the same institutions responsible for bail, for investigations, for for granting justice to the people. So as unfair as it is, you know, these institutions should be facilitated to do their job, and then the efficiency will come in. Okay? To the parliament, when the president says, I'm going to meet my people, I'm going to meet the NRM MPs, you know, the parliament should not be usurped. Their powers should not be usurped by the president. So to the parliament should not allow to be controlled by the feelings of the president. They should act from the demands of the people they represent. To the citizens, to us, the wananchi, okay? To the wananchi. Now, every person should know their rights, okay? Every person should be courteous to know what they should do and how they should do it, okay? People should desist from committing offenses so that we can have an orderly state, and then these things should not come in. Thank you very much.
Well, you heard what Philemon had to say, and the viewers out there, what's your take? As we come to a conclusion of this, I want to thank everyone who participated, who's watching. Till next time, I sign out.